Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I have with me a dear friend named Rebecca. She opened up to me about something so intense that I had to bring it here. Imagine this: a woman, a family, years of marriage, and then one day her husband disappears without a word. No goodbye, no explanation, nothing. What would you do if the person you trusted most just walked away, leaving behind only questions and pain? This is a story about love, loss, betrayal, and the truth that finally came out after months of silence. Let's hear Rebecca's story. Let's begin.
Secrets of Alex's friends.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca. First of all, thank you for listening to my story because honestly, it still feels surreal to even say it out loud. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and wonder if it really happened or if it was just some long nightmare I can't shake off. I had been married to my husband, Michael, for 15 years. 15 years of birthdays, family dinners, late night talks, and raising two kids together. We weren't perfect, but who is, right? We had bills to pay, stress from work, teenage drama with our kids, just normal life. I really thought we were steady, that we were building something that would last. Then, one ordinary Tuesday evening, everything changed. I came home from work expecting to see his car in the driveway like always, but it wasn't there. At first, I didn't panic. Maybe he stopped by the grocery store, maybe he was stuck in traffic. Hours passed, midnight came, still nothing. His phone went straight to voicemail every single time I tried calling. I texted him over and over. Are you okay? Where are you? Please call me. No response. The next morning I checked again. His car still wasn't there. His phone was off. My stomach dropped. I called his office and the secretary said he hadn't shown up. That's when the fear really hit me. Did he get into an accident? Was he lying in a hospital bed somewhere, unidentified? I called local hospitals, even the police. Nothing. When I opened our closet later that day, I noticed something strange. A few of his clothes were gone. Not just random things, but the kind of items you'd pack if you were leaving on a trip. Shirts, jeans, shoes, even his shaving kit. That's when confusion turned into something else. Dread. Because suddenly it didn't feel like an accident. It felt planned. Imagine standing in the middle of your bedroom, staring at half-empty hangers, realizing your husband may have just chosen to walk away. No note, no explanation. Just silence. I tried to stay calm for my kids, but inside, I was spiraling. I told them maybe dad had to leave for work unexpectedly, maybe something came up. But they weren't buying it. They were angry, confused, and I had no answers. Honestly, I didn't have answers for myself. The hardest part wasn't just that he was gone, it was the not knowing. Not knowing if he was safe, if he was coming back, if I had done something wrong. Every scenario played through my head. Maybe he was in trouble. Maybe he was with someone else. Maybe he just wanted out. Each thought was like a knife. That first week was pure chaos. I hardly slept, barely ate. I kept refreshing my phone, checking my emails, hoping for a single sign from him. At night, I'd sit in the living room with the lights off, just waiting to hear his car pull into the driveway. But it never did. And the truth is, part of me didn't know what I wanted more: to see him walk through that door, or to get confirmation that he had left me for good. Because at least then I would know. That's how my nightmare began. One moment I had a husband, a partner, a life I thought I could count on. And the next, I was left with nothing but questions and an empty bed. The days after Michael disappeared blended together in a haze of panic and exhaustion. Every morning, I woke up, hoping maybe he'd be there, asleep on his side of the bed like nothing had ever happened. But every morning, the bed was still cold and empty. I started calling his family, his brother, his parents, even distant cousins. Nobody claimed to know where he was. Some of them wouldn't even take my calls. His mother answered once, but when she realized it was me, she hung up without saying a word. That silence cut deeper than anything else. It felt like they knew something I didn't. By the second week, I wasn't just worried. I was desperate. I filed a missing person report, but the officer who took my statement didn't look convinced. "Ma'am, sometimes people just leave," he said. "He's an adult. Unless there's evidence of foul play, our hands are tied." Leave? The word echoed in my head. People didn't just vanish after 15 years of marriage, did they? I started digging on my own. I went through his laptop, his desk drawers, his nightstand. Nothing obvious, no goodbye letter, no hint of where he might have gone. But I did find one thing that made my stomach twist. His passport was missing, along with some cash from our safe. That discovery shattered any illusion I had left. This wasn't random. Michael hadn't been kidnapped. He had chosen to go, but why? The questions consumed me. I searched our bank records, scrolling through every transaction. Most were ordinary: gas stations, grocery stores, the electric bill. But then, I noticed several cash withdrawals over the past few months. Small enough not to raise suspicion, but together they added up to thousands of dollars. He'd been preparing for this. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the numbers on the screen, feeling my whole body go numb. 15 years together, 2 kids, a mortgage, a whole life. And he had been quietly dismantling it behind my back. Friends tried to comfort me, but their words only made it worse. Maybe he needed a break, one said. Maybe he just couldn't handle the pressure, another suggested. But then I caught the looks they gave me when they thought I wasn't watching. The suspicion, the judgment, like maybe I was the reason he left. And the truth is, I was hiding something. Because a year before Michael disappeared, I had made the worst mistake of my life. I had an affair. It wasn't long and it wasn't serious, but it happened. I told myself it was just a moment of weakness, that it didn't mean anything. I swore I would never do it again. And I never did. But deep down, I always feared Michael would find out. So when he vanished, part of me wondered if that was it. Had he discovered my secret? Had he walked away because he knew? The paranoia ate me alive. I couldn't focus on work. My kids started asking harder questions. Where's Dad? Why isn't he calling? Did he leave us? And every time I had no answer, their anger turned on me. My daughter slammed her door in my face one night, yelling, "You must have done something to make him go." I sat outside her room and cried until my eyes burned. By month 3, I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. That's when I hired a private investigator. His name was Daniel, a retired cop who had seen everything. I'll never forget the way he looked at me during our first meeting. Calm, steady, but with this edge of pity, like he already knew what he was going to find. People don't disappear without leaving a trail, he said. The question is whether you want the truth, no matter what it is. I thought I was ready. I thought I could handle whatever came next. But the truth Daniel uncovered was so much worse than I ever imagined. Thanks for staying with me. If you thought the waiting was hard, you don't know the word hunger until you've been starving for answers. When Daniel called that afternoon, his voice was flat and careful. "I found him," he said. Those 2 words should have felt like relief. Instead, they felt like a razor. He was in Denver, not some faraway country, not hiding in a dramatic cave. Just 2 hours away, alive, working, living a life that had nothing to do with the one he left behind. Daniel had photos, addresses, a pattern of small purchases, and a lease that proved he'd been setting this up for months. Michael hadn't run. He'd planned. Every step toward that city felt like walking through glass. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I told myself to breathe. I told myself I deserved to know the truth. And I also told myself to be ready for anything. Anger, explanations, maybe finally a fight that would reopen us and let us either bleed or begin to heal. When I saw him, it felt like a movie that had been rewound and then played wrong. He was laughing with coworkers outside a cafe, sunlight catching the gray at his temples in a way that used to be endearing. He looked peaceful, not guilty, not frantic. Just there, like he belonged. I stepped up to him and said his name, and for a second his face registered surprise. Then that expression slid off like water. He closed his arms around the woman next to him in a way that made it clear she was part of the world he had chosen. The conversation with his coworkers stopped. People watched, curious. "Michael," I whispered, "we have to talk." He turned and looked at me like he was confirming a detail in a book. There wasn't fire in his voice, only a thin, even line. "Rebecca," he said, "you found me." I remember the questions pouring out of me. Why? How could you just leave? Did you ever love us? But they sounded small and useless in the open air. He answered slowly, like someone choosing measurements. I didn't want to hurt you with a fight, he said. I didn't want the drama. I wanted to walk away without the spectacle. I wanted to be certain about what I was doing before I asked anyone to believe it. I'm sorry you feel blindsided, Rebecca. Sorry. Not, I made a mistake. Not, I'll try to fix this. He said he was sorry for the way it made me feel, not sorry for the act that caused the feeling. That was the moment my chest broke in a new way. I had imagined every kind of anger shouting, slamming doors, dramatic pleas. I had not imagined indifference, which somehow felt worse. It whispered that everything we had together could be folded away like a shirt and stored without meaning. I followed him to the apartment building his investigator had found, because a cowardly person can be brave in leaving, but I still wanted to see the life he'd chosen. The place was neat, quiet, full of small European touches he would never have picked for our home together. A bicycle in the hall, a stack of independent magazines, photos of him smiling in new places, with faces I didn't know. We stood on the stoop while he told me he'd filed the paperwork. He handed me a printed copy. The signatures were clinical, final. I'll do it cleanly, he said. No accusations. No dragging this in public. I can't give you the closure you want because closure needs involvement. I don't want to be involved. There was no triumph in his voice, no gloating, just a composed certainty. He had already sorted the grief by deciding not to fight it. He'd turned our marriage into an artifact and stepped away. I asked him once more for something, anything. Did you ever love me, Michael? He looked at me a long time, and I thought maybe there would be softness or a crack. Instead, he spoke softly and honestly. I loved what we built, he said. I cared for you. But I couldn't live pretending I was the person you needed. I made a choice. I'm living the life I chose. Then he walked back inside with the woman who was now part of every future he had carved out. His door closed. The sound was ordinary and absolute. On the plane home, I thought about all the ways I had imagined his return. Angry, devastated, begging for one last chance. I had wanted the noise of a fight because at least noise meant he still cared. Indifference is a different kind of punishment. It says the story is over and you're not even worth footnote. A week later, the divorce papers arrived. Quick, clean, no contest. I signed them because my lawyer advised me and because I realized I was done trying to chase the version of a man who'd already wrapped himself in someone else's life. I started therapy with something that felt like both relief and punishment. Relief that I would no longer be waiting for a door to open, and punishment for having to admit how small and terrible I'd been. Months on, I still find myself checking my phone. Sometimes I walk past a cafe and catch a sliver of a laugh that used to be familiar, and my stomach turns. But I'm learning the difference between wanting someone back because you miss the person and wanting them back because you're afraid of the story ending. I'm learning how to live with the fact that some people leave not because they want to hurt you, but because they've finally chosen to find themselves somewhere else. Thank you for listening. I don't have a neat moral for you, it's only this. Not every disappearance ends in the dramatic showdown you expect. Sometimes it ends with a signature, a door closing, and the lonely work of rebuilding. Goodbye for now.
Wow, Rebecca's story really left me speechless. I can't imagine the strength it takes to go through something like that. What do you think Rebecca should ever forgive Michael? Or is walking away the only answer? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and support the channel so we can keep sharing these powerful real-life stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.
Secrets of Alex's Friends.